Hi folks, in this video I just wanted to do another quick overview of texture baking, just keeping it nice and simple. I'm going to bake the textures from this high poly crate and apply it to just a cube, just so you can see the process. Now this is going to be rushed and it's not going to look perfect, but it's just showing you the basic workflow if you want to have a go at this. So we need a high poly sculpt such as this one, and this was made up with lots of individual planks of wood that are kind of gnarly and they've got cuts in them, and they're all sort of buffed up and not in great condition. So it's kind of like battered old crate, and what I'm going to do is make a low poly crate to apply these textures to. Keeping it dead simple, I'm just going to go for a cube so you can see this in action. So this is what's going to appear in my game. Now what I need to do is just resize this and get it close to my high poly. So I'm going to go to X-ray mode, and I'm going to just jump to the different views to get to that. So let's just, so boogie. Right, let's move it into the middle of the cube from this angle. Move it into the middle of the cube from this angle. Let's just scale it up a little bit. Okay. This view. Got quite a lot going on in my scene at the minute, so it's a bit messy. You can see I've got my beloved axe in there. Okay, that's this view, and we've kind of roughly got that in line with our high poly sculpt. Okay, let me just delete all these layers because it's getting a bit messy. So delete layer, delete layer, delete layer. Right. Back to normal view mode. Okay, so no, this is a previous version. Okay, so I've got my my low poly here, my low poly cube, and my high poly. So what I'm going to do is put this low poly on a new layer. I might just make it a tiny bit bigger. And so with this object selected, new layer from selection, call it low poly crate. Hit save, turn that off. Now select your high poly, new layer from selection, call this high poly crate. Hit save. What you might also want to do is, when you've got your object selected, is just rename the object itself. So I'll call this low poly crate, and go to my high poly. So you see this is poly surface 78. I'll call this high poly crate. This isn't one mesh, by the way. This has just been combined. So don't worry about making it all one mesh. You don't have to worry about that with high poly. Okay, so to create the texture maps and bake them, you need to go to your rendering subset menu, go to lighting and shading, and then you're going to go to transfer maps. So let me just reset this tool, remove all these, and with my low poly cube selected, this is what's going to be your target mesh. So there you go, you can see low poly crate. So that's the reason why I renamed it. Source mesh, this is where you're stealing your textures from. So I've selected my high poly crate, and that's going to go there. And I'm going to make a normal map from it. I'm going to rename it. Crate normal, and I'm going to call it, make it into a target. And that's all good on that one. come down to here, so this is going to apply it as a new shader. Come down to the common output. I'm going to change this to 1024, and I'm going to leave it as low for now, so I'm not too worried about the quality. If you've got time and you want it to be amazing, go for a slightly high one, but my computer will die if I choose high. It will even struggle with medium, so just be aware of that. On advanced options, closest to envelope. Okay, cool. So that means we have to change envelope up here, and we're going to set the size of it. So you can see this is the low poly version basically that we're resizing to act as like a the envelope that's going to capture all the details. So rule of thumb is you want your, as I've just put a cube in here, you can see how the envelope is quite large here, it's quite tight to it here, it's away from it here, so the shadows are going to be stronger. So as a result, I'm not going to get an amazing bake. What you need to do when you've got time is make sure that your low poly object matches as closely as possible to your high poly without getting really detailed, if that makes sense. So if I had more time, maybe I would add in some faces around here on my low poly one, and in here to sort of like inset it, so I've got a bit more detail on my low poly. It'd still be fine to put in the game. It would just mean that the envelope that I create to bake the textures would closer match my high poly object, and as a result the shadows that are going to be created wouldn't be as aggressive and look as nasty. But I just wanted to show you this nice and simply. Okay, with these settings done, I'm going to bake and close and hope that it doesn't take a year to bake it. Here we go, 66%, 83, job's a good one. And it's applied it. So can you see what I mean about the shadows? Because the areas where the envelope was further away from the high poly sculpt, it's created some harsher shadows. Also, the quality is quite low, so with a higher quality and a low poly crate which closer matched the shape of my high poly, you're going to get better results. But I just wanted to show you the workflow really, and the reason why we make a low poly version, and why it has to sort of match up roughly with the high poly sculpt. Okay folks, if you're feeling comfortable with your texture baking now, have a go at creating some objects using the texture baking method, and have a go at making sure that your low poly objects that you're going to be baking the textures onto match your high poly one to a certain extent. Okay, thanks guys.